Mosoma, Mosoma.
Good morning. This is Tempo Afric TV's Beyond the Headline program, and I'm your host, Petros Haile. Our guest for today is Mr. TIBABU ASSEFA. Hello, are you there, TIBABU?
Hi, how you doing, Petros?
Oh, yeah. As from Maryland, Mr. TIBABU ASSEFA is a native of Ethiopia, came to the US in 1981. He studied photography, film production, and communication at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. In 1991, Mr. ASSEFA moved to the Washington, D.C. area, where he worked in fine art photography, film/video, production and communication and marketing, and a commercial and educational markets. Before I start the question to Mr. ASSEFA, I would like to show this video on one of his projects. Then once we come back, we'll go on from there.
Sorry.
Today in Ethiopia, from villages in rural areas to neighborhoods and big cities, people get together daily in coffee ceremonies where green coffee is roasted, ground, and brewed 3 times. After the last brew is shared, and before the circle breaks out, elders will conduct a prayer and give blessings for the well-being of the community. This has been the culture and tradition of coffee in its birthplace, Ethiopia, for thousands of years. We're sharing this ancient and rich culture to tell you our story. The story of Blessed Coffee, a socially responsible business and trade geared towards development in coffee-growing regions as well as in communities in the U.S. where the coffee is sold. Our story began in 2002 in Washington, D.C., when my husband and partner, TIBABU, met Taddese Mesqala. Taddese is the founder and manager of the 240,000-member Small Coffee Farmers Cooperative Union in Ethiopia. The global coffee market is the second highest traded commodity next to oil. In this market, ultra-premium coffee beans are taken from small farmers at pennies on the dollar, then mixed into large batches with cheap plantation-produced coffee, branded and labeled as a fancy blend by wholesalers, retailers, and fancy coffee shops. In this profit-driven market, farmers who contribute 90% of the work only get 1% of the retail price. With this meager share, farmers struggle to make a living and cannot afford to eat a decent meal and send their kids to school. Instead of cursing the darkness, we wanted to light a candle, and so we created Blessed Coffee. Blessed Coffee is based on the philosophy, from the farmer to your cup. It provides farmers an investment opportunity and dynamic access to profit. We call our social business model virtuous exchange, more than fair trade. This new system of trade is based on the idea of giving everyone involved a fair share. Since the inauguration of Blessed Coffee in 2011, we have shared our story at community events, colleges, and sustainable forums and meetings. We have sampled and sold our ultra-premium and single-origin coffee selections at farmers markets, festivals, co-op stores, and small cafes and restaurants. In just 2 years, we've come a long way. Today, Blessed Coffee enjoys massive community support built one cup and conversation at a time. We have earned valuable recognition and endorsements from policymakers and received broad media coverage. Our story is reaching across the nation and beyond. We are grateful for this recognition and community love. It is with a strong sense of accomplishment, on the occasion of our 3rd anniversary, we launched Brewing Change, a funding campaign developed to support Blessed Coffee in raising the necessary capital to open its first cafe and roasting facility. We believe not only in the power of Blessed Coffee, but that virtuous exchange will lead the way towards a new breed of business that has a positive impact in the community it serves. Please visit our website and blog to learn more about Blessed Coffee and support our campaign.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video. TIBABU, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Mr. TIBABU, among many other credentials, Mr. TIBABU ASSEFA is a recipient of Champions of Change Award from the Obama administration in 2012. Excuse me. He is a community leader and social entrepreneur and founder of Blessed Coffee. That is a topic I wanted to discuss with him, one of the three topics. And TIBABU, if you don't mind telling us the historical background of Blessed Coffee and how it came about.
Yes, first I'd like to say thank you to Time for Africa for providing us this opportunity to share our story with the African community in the Midwest. And we take a great pride in that. So thank you. I think a very good point of entry to the story would be to share my personal experience. When I went to Ethiopia in the early 2000s and visited the coffee growing region, I was really shocked by the reality on the ground as it relates to how hard the farmers work and how little money they get for the harvest of their labor. Coffee, as you know, is a $1 billion market in the global market. It's the highest the second highest traded commodity next to oil. And in the coffee growing region, like most of the regions in Africa, is a very fertile. I mean, when you travel in the coffee growing region, what you see is blue sky, green vegetation, red soil, water flowing everywhere, and you see the farmers, the family of the farmer, the farmer, the wife, and the kids, toiling the soil from sunrise to sundown, working hard the whole day. Yet when you look at their living condition, they work so hard in such a Garden of Eden, but they cannot even afford basic necessities of life. And when you trace coffee in the global market, as I said, it's a $100 billion market, and here in the West, you see coffee shops in every corner of major cities, and we Africans living here in the US will go to the Starbucks and the likes, and we pay $13, $14 for a bag of roasted coffee, $3 to $5 for a brewed specialty coffee. And so much money is being made, and you see Starbucks making billions and billions of dollars annually. Mm-hmm. And you wonder, how come the farmer who works hard gets so little, and when on this side we're charged so exuberant amount of money? And so when you do the calculation, when you do the maths, you will quickly find out the farmers who do 90% of the work only get 1% of the money we pay from this end. That's why they're locked in poverty. That's why they can't afford to drink clean water. That's why they can't afford to eat 3 meals a day. That's why they can't afford to send their kids to school. So on top of the many projects that we have in Africa, a very significant part to my observation is our marginalized role in the global market. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So initially we were very, very offended by that. And but quickly we said, hey, let's have a market solution. We live in the West. We are purchasers. We have a political power. We have a social power, cultural presence, and we have a growing economic space in the U.S. I'm talking about the African diaspora or the African immigrant. Yes. We're growing. We're very vibrant, and we wanted to propose a market solution to resolve that. So Blessed Coffee was conceived out of this observation. As you saw on the clip, we didn't want to curse the darkness. and we wanted to bring our own solution, market solution that allows the African farmers to have a competitive presence in partnership with us, and value add and bring the coffee from the farmer directly to the consumer, providing the farmers an opportunity to invest and share a significant part of the profit, so they will be empowered to advance their own social and economic development. So that is the nexus of the foundation of Blessed Coffee.
Blessed Coffee. So in a way, you encourage local farmers to produce and sell their product directly to who? If you can say something about that.
The role of the farmers, you're cutting out.
The local farmers, they produce their coffee, and how does it work? I know you mentioned it. Okay.
Yeah, that is very. In fact, another thing that we saw is in Ethiopia 300,000 small coffee farmers organized under co-ops in their locality, and the co-ops forming a union to collectively produce their coffee, market their coffee in the global market, and trying to fetch a better dollar for their coffee than the commodity market gives. So they've worked hard. They've brought it all the way to the global market. So they're managed to get a little better price than the conventional commodity market. Mm-hmm. So we were impressed by their effort. So the finishing line was taking it from them and bringing it to the consumer, directly breaking the chain. Okay. The value chain is about 9 from the farmer to the consumer, by breaking the Nile middleman, connecting the farmers vis-a-vis their union, and the Blessed Coffee that we're establishing here, we're reducing the chain directly from the farmer to the consumer.
So the collaborative in like, if you take Ethiopia, that's where they produce the coffee.
Yes.
The collaborative is already there. The system is already there, right?
Yes, it's already there. It's democratic. It was established under the International Cooperative Alliance. I've gone to the villages and met the farmers, talked to the leaders of their co-op. It's democratically run. The farmers choose their leaders for the local co-op. On the average, there are about 1,000 small coffee farmers in any locality who have formed their own cooperative, and the cooperative is managed and run by themselves. And the co-ops, 300 co-ops, have a representation in the union that promotes them in the global market. So we like that structure. It was, as I said, organized under the International Cooperative Alliance, democratically established, and they produce the ultra premium, the highest quality coffee. So we were encouraged by that system, and we want to take it to the finishing line and bring it on this, make the work on this side.
Okay. On that note, how does the independent coffee traders feel about this developing trend, and how do you distribute the products once it comes to the United States? The independent, most of the coffee produced from Ethiopia is produced by small farmers. Over 85% of the coffee comes from small farmers who hold a small scale backyard farm. So the independent farmers are new in the scene, and they're not many. They're very little, and they all compete on the global market. And as I said, for the coffee that we buy here at the Starbucks or any other coffee outlet, the coffee that we buy for $13, $14, $15, sometimes even higher dollars a pound, our exporters can only get at most $1.50 or $2 per pound. Okay.
So imagine 90% of the work is done in Ethiopia. The green coffee is sold for $1.50 and $2 per pound, and then just simply because they roast it, simply because they have a cafe, simply because they're capable of taking it to the consumer, those who play the role, the gatekeepers into the market, do 90% of the work. So anybody that works in the coffee sector, not only in Ethiopia as well as Africa, they would be very pleased to see. In fact, they might find it difficult because it has never been done. So in the long run, it's a very encouraging thing for them because we can open the market. But it might look very difficult for them because it requires a lot of money on this side to put the infrastructure and develop the brand.
Okay. Speaking of infrastructure, you also have another project called Benefits Corporations, which is somehow a mechanism that serves to protect or serve the small coffee producers back in Africa and connecting them to the U.S. How does that work?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Before I tell you that, when we formed our business, as I said, our business was inspired by the social reality. We're an activist first before we were businessmen. So we were using the power of business to leverage the power of business to make an impact. So from the get-go, our idea was to use business as a catalyst agent for social and economic development. So our mission was not necessarily to create money or to create profit like it is here in the US. More businesses are created to create dollars or make a profit or return on the investment. So from the get-go, we had a challenge. How do we create a business that has public good embedded in it? So when we're looking at legalizing our business, first and foremost, we looked at the international coffee market. Most of it is in the commodity market, and there was a emerging new international development geared market established by social buyers on this side called fair trade. And fair trade buyers on this side were aspiring to give a little more to the farmers than the commodity market was providing. So we like the fair trade model as opposed to the commodity model. But when we looked at the fair trade model, the word fair was very, very ambiguous. How much is fair? How much money are they giving? So we were, for the most part, we found out to be a marketing gimmick because it doesn't go all the way. It doesn't. Maybe it would give a 50 cents per pound or a dollar more than the conventional market, but it does not address the issue. So we said we need to upgrade the fair trade model. So took changed the word fair into virtuous, and changed the word trade into an exchange.
Okay.
Virtuous because we wanted the profit sharing to be very authentic, dynamic, and profound. So virtuous is righteous. So we said, okay, well, the relationship has to be virtuous. And then we changed the word to trade to an exchange because this is more than a commodity. There are humanity that are behind the coffee production. There is culture behind. So we wanted it to be a holistic transaction. So we called it an exchange. So today we've introduced a new international market, but upgraded from the fair trade model called virtuous exchange. An exchange that invites both the most important players in the system, which is the producer and the consumer. It invites both to play a role in the investment as well as profit sharing. So once we created this new model, in order to incorporate it, we were having difficulties because the existing legal incorporation that you can use in the US does not allow public good. C Corps, as you know, or the S corporations, as you know, are established to create nothing but profit. You cannot sustain a social mission and a business set up here in the US. But luck had it, because of the 2008 global economic crisis, the state of Maryland came up with a new legal business incorporation format or framework called Benefit Corporation, B Corp, as opposed to the C Corp model. Okay. So Benefit Corporation was created to encourage social entrepreneurs who aspire to do business while they produce public good. So we were very enlightened by this historical opportunity, and we were the first company to register on the day that law became legal. And as you see on that video, that's when we're celebrating the birth of Benefit Corporation. So Blazed Coffee is the nation's second benefit corporation. So which means it's a combination of for-profit and for public good. And today, 30 other states, including California and New York, have adopted the benefit corporation model. It's a new aspiring business that wants to create wealth while making a difference. So we're created in that context. Our initial aspiration and the global historical reality was the two elements came together and made the Blazed Coffee possible.
Okay, so technically, it's a state effort initiated by the state of course, Maryland, and 30 others adopted a similar proposal, B Corporation.
Yes.
So it is legal to speak. I don't know, I'm not sure about Minnesota, but this is a very interesting concept. So probably going to have to invite you and talk about it, the benefits that local
Yes.
farmers in Africa, as well as the distribution system in the US. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, it's growing. It's a new movement. There's, as you know, as a result of the 2000 global economic crisis, the world, consumers of the world, or conscious consumers of the world, are really, really interested in creating or taking part in local and sustainable economy, as well as international sustainable economy. And they're demanding, the consumer is demanding, business become accountable to human, environmental, and global issues. So it's a paradigm shift. It's a new movement on the rise, and we're very, very happy and pleased to be at the center of it. And we're very proud to have an African business established in the US that aspires to introduce a new international market geared towards development and provides our African collective producers access to the market, investment opportunity, and dynamic sharing from the profit.
Oh, okay. But this is pretty much an extension of the AGOA then, like African Growth and Opportunity Act that, if I'm not mistaken, Bush introduced some times ago. But that relates strictly to the tax break. This one goes beyond that.
Yes. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned AGOA. AGOA is a quota-free, and so it was an opportunity the American market, the American administration opened for African producers to take advantage, increase their presence in the American market. But the challenge was African producers do not have product ready for the U.S. market, do not have market intelligence on this side, do not have dollars to invest and compete in this marketplace. So AGOA, even though its extension was good, even though it provided an opportunity for African producers to play in the U.S. market, because of our absence in this market, we Africans were not able to capitalize on the opportunity AGOA produced. So, and if you look at AGOA, the over 7,000 products allowed, they're all agricultural products. And unfortunately, that has been the challenge in Africa. In fact, I recently read an interview by the president of the World Bank, who made a very remarkable statement about the challenges of Africa. And his issue was, even though Africa has broken the backs of its colonial chain, it did not economically liberate itself. Europeans came to Africa to exploit raw material, and when they left, they only gave us political power. They did not give us the economical. They didn't empower us economically to compete in this market. So Africans, everything that we produce is given to the global market in a raw format. Okay. We sell timber and buy toothpick. We sell raw green coffee and buy roasted coffee. So Africans are, to a significant degree, have the challenge that they have in their economic growth because their presence in the global market is very marginalized. They don't have a partner on this side that competes. If you look at all other communities in the U.S., for instance, if you take the Chinese Americans, if you take the Greek Americans, if you take the Italian Americans, all those immigrants who came here have established an economic space that connected the trade to their respective countries, so they were able to create market here and sell their products and their producers. For instance, if you go to any market in the U.S. today, you can walk into, for instance, you can walk into a liquor store. You can find a bottle of wine from France. You can find whiskey from Scotland, and everyone has a finished product on this line because they have their own communities partnering, investing, expanding market space. Africans do not have that. We're still selling raw material at exuberant, a very minuscule price that is sold on this side for exuberant amount of money. So we work hard, we get so little, so we were not able to break our economical challenges.
Okay. On following up on AGOA, one of the shortcomings of AGOA, by some experts saying, the existing rich Africans, in most cases non-African natives, are the one who benefited from the deal, the tax break deal. Some were saying, like in Kenya, mainly the Indians were the one who was dominating the textile factory and others. But this benefits corporation, do you think that has a mechanism that actually benefits the local? I know they're collaborative, they're part of the union, so it's directly connecting to the people. So I was just entertaining the idea of, is AGOA benefits other Africans?
During the extension of, during the dialogue and lobbying effort by many stakeholders to have the AGOA extension, we're actively engaged in that process. And what we were offering was, finally, the virtuous exchange model, the blessed coffee model, can give Africans a very authentic and dynamic, active presence that can exploit the advantage opportunity extended to them by AGOA. And in fact, we presented our idea as a catalyst agent to fulfill the promise of AGOA.
Okay.
And we're very, very excited about AGOA, but that's the first step. Having an active market presence that takes the products produced by collective producers and farmers in Africa by value adding vis-a-vis the African diaspora entrepreneurs on this side. If we could finish the product chain and bring it to the market, we can truly, for once and for all, for the very first time, we can imagine a possibility of a sustainable economic growth that goes directly to the farmers, that gives farmers an active role. So we see a lot of promise, we see a lot of hope in this model.
Okay. I also know that you have a briefing on February 22nd. What is it about? Is it related to the BC again, or you have other issues to talk about?
The White House briefing?
Yeah, White House briefing on
the White House briefing February on the 22nd. The Obama administration, as you know, has a very aggressive policy initiative to advance development in Africa. And the U.S. Congress is also, because of the fact that U.S. finally is feeling left out from the African market. As you know, 11 of the 20 fast-growing countries in the world are in Africa. The growing middle class in Africa is having a tremendous amount of purchasing power. And the fact that the BRIC nations, including China, is growing their presence in Africa. The U.S. policymakers and the U.S. Business sector is feeling left out. And because of that, they're very, very, very motivated to put policy in place. But policy by itself is not enough. Policy has to support the what's happening on the ground. The business activity on the ground is very, very weak, because businesses who have ideas and solutions and technology and know-how and investment fund on this side have already dismissed Africa, because Africa has been negatively portrayed for centuries here in the market. An average American businessman thinks Africa is a jungle. So the U.S. administration, as well as the Congress, did not allocate resources to create awareness about the opportunities in Africa. And Americans don't travel to Africa unless they work for the State Department. So there is a perception gap. The opportunity that exists in Africa, in the true image of Africa on this side is not promoted. And the U.S. government has put a policy in place, but there is a discrepancy. There is no resource allocated to make that happen. But most of all, Africans on this side, African immigrant businesses, have not stepped up to take advantage of this opportunity. So, the briefing at the White House, and in fact, at the same time, we'll also have the same day, we'll also have a briefing at the DNC, is to have a dialogue and to bring all the stakeholders together and excite business activity on the ground that can take advantage of this opportunity.
Okay, yeah, pretty much an awareness campaign, and America will be left out, given the thing you mentioned about BRICS and other forces competing for an African market. Given your experience in Maryland and the fact that there's a follow-up of 30 states for benefit corporation, like Minnesota is left out. I'm not sure if anybody introduced this concept to Minnesotans. Minnesota having one of the largest African immigrants, by some account, is considered to be over 100,000. So, it's an emerging market locally. Minnesotans start appreciating the African contribution in the state. Is there a mechanism that's initiated by you guys to reach out to the rest of African communities in different states?
Yes, you're breaking out, but I think I understood the gist of your question.
Go ahead.
As I said earlier, Blazing Coffee was just the first model we're introducing to inspire the emerging African diaspora or immigrant community in the US, to not only inspire them, but provide support for them to be actively engaged in duplicating the model across the continent. And in order to do that, last year we launched an organization we called US Africa Diaspora Business Council. A council is going to be like a chamber of commerce of sustainable businesses here in the US who aspire to advance business, create wealth, while they provide an opportunity for African growers and producers. And we've been working since 2013 to spread this word. We've done a massive job. We held our first business forum last year. Now, this year, to have a very aggressive campaign to bring visibility to our model as well as our organization, we're launching what we call Benefit Cooperation for Africa.
Okay.
And we've taken the Benefit Cooperation model to Africa because it is a business that aspires to create wealth while making a difference. And Minneapolis, the growing African community in Minnesota, or more so in Minneapolis, and your dynamic representative, Congressman Keith Wilson, has inspired us not only to share our story with the African community in Minneapolis, also considering to have elected officials, local elected officials, consider the benefit cooperation model, because it can empower the African community to do more. You know, another thing to mention, worth mentioning here, is the cultural vibrancy and economic contribution of the African community in the US has not been recognized yet. When we walk on the streets of Africa and in all the major cities we make home, Americans do not recognize the fact that we took from Africa and brought to America our skills, our energy, and we've invested, and we are making a very strong economical base. We're expanding we're contributing to this dynamic economics. We're contributing to the cultural mosaic of America, but we are not recognized for our input, and no resources are made available to help us further grow. There's tremendous amount of public recourse to help local and a small business development. As you know, 50% of the job is created in America by small businesses, and there are over a significant amount of self-owned businesses, and the African immigrant community is taking a significant role in expanding that sector. So we also need an effort, policymakers, for the policymakers to know our contribution, for the American community, the broader community, to understand that we've come here to give. We're giving a whole lot more. We're very vibrant. That has to be recognized. And if first and foremost, if that is recognized, and if further policy like benefit cooperation is established, if resources in small and economic development is made allocated to our community, not only we can create more wealth here, we can also make an impact in Africa. In fact, jokingly, most of the time when I sit in power centers, the first thing that I say at the Congress or on a state level is usually to mention the African farmer and the African immigrant on this side. If we're given an opportunity to advance business for economic development of both sides, we can make an impact, an amazing impact. In fact, I usually tell the African farmer, if he's given an opportunity to invest and compete on this market in partnership with the diaspora, not only it can advance its own economic development, it can also contribute to economic development here in the U.S. So all these activities is as a multi-layered activity to get the due respect that our community needs from the policymakers as well as the consumer market, and then to get the resources that is available to other communities to come to us and to inspire our community to step up and expand their scope from doing business in America. In fact, sometimes I say, it's difficult for Africans to pursue an American dream here in the US because we've already lost. This competition is too high. We cannot chase the American dream as Africans. It's a losing battle because there's a lot of privileges we're not privy to, but we can pursue an African dream in America because that taps into our unique motivation, our unique experience, our unique relationship with our mother Africa. So we can that will take our competitive advantage and help us create wealth while we make a local impact and empower our African brothers and sisters to invest in the US market and advance their lives. So to make that all happen, we Africans living here in the US, we have a purchasing power, we have a political power, we have a social power, we have a cultural presence. We have to rise up and stand as one, no matter our differences, stand as one and capitalize on the opportunity that's beforehand here in the US, create wealth and make a difference. And US Africa Diaspora Business Council aspires to lead that dialogue.
I think this is a good idea.
I have an echo.
Okay.
I am hardly hearing what you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly. Yeah. It's still echo, so, but I'll try to say what I wanted to say. You may end up listening to half of it. No, the thing is, you mentioned we do acquire the political power. We have the economic power, purchasing power. In fact, Minnesota, one of the 12 city council member is an African, and another one was running for a Senate. That's how significant the African community here in Minnesota are becoming. So on that line, this U.S. Africa Diaspora Business Council, does it have a strategy to reach out all African across the state? Can you hear me that?
Africans are new immigrants. We're new to this country. We're making homes. We're raising our kids. And I mean, we're learning. Actually, I have a lot of respect for our accomplishment as a community. But we need to do more. We need to do more. We have to be present in our communities. I understand we're a very close, all Africans come from a close society. So wherever they go, they tend to create their own community, which is fine. But we also have to penetrate the larger community we live in. We have to volunteer in community organizations. We have to be active in the civic space. We have to exercise our voting rights. We have to engage our elected officials. Not only elect them, also make them be accountable. Not only we send them to the office, make sure that they pay attention to our needs. And we have to serve on community boards. We have to serve on community organizations. And we have to have our own social, cultural, political platforms. So I think even though our rate of growth, because we're new, as I said, was not that dynamic, moving forward, we see a lot of hope. The fact that I sit here in Washington, D.C., and being interviewed in Tempo Africa itself is a remarkable achievement. Africans are coming together, and the U.S. African Diaspora Business Council is very proud to have members from south, east, west, north, of Africa. For the very first time, Africans are coming together for a common cause. It has never been seen before. It's not as much as it should be, but I guess we have to appreciate what's on the ground and build more. So that is when we can really make a difference and contribution.
Yeah, my question is, yes, I agree with you. There's a potential, there's a resource, and African are rising everywhere. But the U.S. African Diaspora Business Council, is it an organization who does have a strategy to reach out all other Africans in different states? Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, ideally, what we aspire to do is the name itself says U.S. Africa, so we have to have a presence in all cities and towns and neighborhoods where Africans make home. But the organizational component or the strategy is not to recreate the wheel. What we aspire to do is forge partnership with like-minded African organizations in all the states where Africans make home. So once we establish our presence here, and next year, as you know, we're planning to launch Benefit for Africa initiative, which is a year-long campaign, and we want to make connections not only with African-oriented organizations in the U.S., with African-oriented organizations in Africa as well as in other areas. So our growth strategy is forging partnership with like-minded organizations in social and economic development of Africa. Our focus is growing the African cultural presence, promoting African culture in the U.S., expanding the economic space, and incorporate, advance, and do conduct business that aspires to support Africa. Those are the two areas. In that context, we're very open. We're looking at organizations all over the United States and beyond. We're making, if you can, as you can see on our initiative concept paper, there are several like-minded organizations we have already made connections with. So in this coming year, we hope to do more connections and create a well-networked African platform in the U.S.
On that note, I'd like to thank you for giving us this in-depth alternative to an African issue. This will not be the last one. We will do a follow-up interview with you. Until then, thank you, TIBABU, for giving us opportunity.
One more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd like to invite members of the African community in Minneapolis to check our website. It would be nice if we give them our website, www.usadbc.org. Visit our website, check our initiatives, look at our efforts, our missions, and our objectives. Send us your feedback, send us your support, even critical advice and message, because we can only, a true and sustainable economic and social development in Africa can only come about if Africans who live in the U.S. stand as one. And no matter what our differences are, we have to be very sophisticated. There's a role for there's a platform for everything. Here is a cultural and economic expansion to grow African presence in the U.S. to impact development. So visit our website, connect with us, and I hope this won't be the last. And thank you very much, and we look forward to a continued dialogue.
Yeah, you also have another site, Bliss Coffee, right?
Yes, Blessed Coffee, blessedcoffee.us.
.us, okay.
Yeah, www.blessedcoffee.us is our website to our business. But mostly, I want Africans to look to follow the U.S. African Diaspora Business Council, the initiative that we have to expand, duplicate the blended coffee model everywhere in the continent.
Thank you, TIBABU. On that note,
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. We end our program for today, but definitely we will do a follow-up on this discussion because it's an interesting subject for Africans and for the Americans as well. So next week I'll see you with a different guest, and until then, have a nice one. Thank you.
Thank you, Minneapolis.
Thank you.
Sumanya Atele Mosoma Alumuna sisi au ya sama kosa amuna yeye koma sama kosa